What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to the Bring a Trailer Walk Around video, i.e. the rally car is done. So, while I'm filming this video, the auction is currently live, or is going live in the next day. And we're going to talk about this thing. We're going to go through all of it. We're going to show you all the stuff that's wrong with it, things that didn't get fixed, but also all the things that are epic awesome with this car. So I'm stoked to finally get to this point. It has been a great year-long process bringing you guys on the channel along. And if you're new here from the Bring a Trailer auction or from other stuff, definitely go check out the videos building this car. Go check out the other videos on the channel if you want to learn more about rotary engines and the not quite the like backwoods mechanic way, but the way that these things can be maintained for a reasonable price. So the rally car. This thing is a 1984 Mazda RX7. It started its life as a GSL SE model. Okay? Got a fresh badge on there for you. Now you might ask, and I'm going to tell you, this is the most un-GSL SE that exists. Being, if you know anything about RX7s, the GSL SEs were the top dog. They had power windows, fancy radios, they had a sunroof, windshield wiper in the back, which would have had a hole up here to spray that. You got big brakes. They came with a 13B from the factory, bigger, beefier rear axle. They were just all around a bigger, beefier, more bad special car. So why is this one not as much of a GSL SE? So in 2016, the car got rolled, and I'll try to find a picture of it. I actually have one of when this thing got rolled in a rally. This is a historic race car, okay? When it got rolled, it had to get a new roof put on. And when it got a new roof put on, you're going to put a slick top roof on it. So it has a slick top roof. The back glass got replaced with the wiperless one. In that same roll, the front end was damaged a bit. This has all been pulled back out. Okay, the left side here. And I think that the front clip has been replaced once. I can see some spot welds through here where it looks like, in a weld in the frame rail, what it looks like in front of the strut towers has been put back on. And that's not abnormal for a rally car. Okay, guys, this thing has been raced. The logbook goes back to '89, and this car was built to replace that logbooked car in the 90s. Okay, and we'll get to the history after we get done talking about the un-GSL SE-ness, because that's kind of the cool part about this thing. The doors have been converted to crank window doors. So no more GSL SE power windows. All of the radio wiring has been removed from the factory harness. And this is not, you have to go check out the video wiring video on the channel. This isn't some custom wiring harness car. This is a simplified OEM harness. So anything that wasn't needed got removed, and then I only added a few things to the side. This thing still does maintain all the factory switches. The key still starts the car. You have your main power switch over there. Even the electric fuel door popper still works, guys. We got to keep all the things that are nice. No sense in putting a key back there. So the next bit of un-GSL SE-ness. So GSL SEs came with EFI. If you followed along on the channel, you're going to know that I struggled to make that EFI work. So we replaced all of the EFI systems in the car. It's all removed with a nice brand new Weber 48 IDA. Yes, brand new. Pegasus Racing still had brand new ones in stock, original Weber, so that's what I bought. No sense in trying to make a used one work. It's got a brand new manifold for it, filter, brand new Carter pump. The fuel system is all brand new for this thing. So with that being said, that's basically all the GSL SE-ness taken out of it. So let's talk about the history, and then we'll go back around the car. So this car, I got it from a guy in Oklahoma as a spare chassis plus a bunch of extra parts for my rally program at the time, which as much of a program as it was with me racing RX7s. So I had a yellow car, which I also sold on Bring a Trailer. If you go check out that auction, that one we didn't restore or anything. We just sold it as is. And in rally, you might crash it. And if you crash your car, you're going to need a log-booked, legal caged car. So this has, like I said, a logbook. There's pictures of it. And it's ready to pretty much rip. I would say if you're going to race, I know that's an SCCA logbook. Definitely check the rules for the sanctioning body you're going to race with. I think now you have to have a fire suppression system, not fire, so whatever. Check the rules. So anyways, the history. I bought this car. It was pretty clapped. okay? It needed some help. The bottom of the car was mostly original. It still had most of the original paint on it. It had been painted from the roof up. The front end had been painted. It had some mismatched fenders. So I had picked it up, like I said, for the spare, but then eventually I was like, dang, I really have this dream of building this RX-7, the Millen livery from 1984, the replica of the all-wheel drive car. And I've always dreamt of driving that car, so what better car to build it out of than the race car chassis I had laying around. So that's where this car was born, or reborn. Now, under previous ownership, this thing raced Obajigwe Forest Rally, Southern Ohio Forest Rally, I think. It raced Show Me Rally, 100 Acre Wood. It raced NEFR. It raced a bunch of different rallies in from, say, 2015 to 2018 when I got the car under its ownership in Oklahoma. And prior to that, I don't really think it was raced that much. Kind of like from the 2000s to 2015. The story goes that a pastor in California had bought a trailer, okay, that came with this car in it. Well, he didn't want the trailer, or he didn't want the car, just wanted the trailer. So the guy that I know in Oklahoma went out there and bought the car and all the spares. And then that's how the car got brought back to life in the 2000s and then eventually came to me. Which I think the part that makes cars cool, right, irreplaceable, the things that make cars priceless are the stories that come with them. You know, anybody can build one of these brand new, but it's getting the cool stories and meeting the people that owned it. So it has been reborn. Now, we talked about the carburetor. Let's go over the engine. This is a Series 4 FC 6-port engine. It was rebuilt by me 2 years ago, reusing the housings and irons. We put new apex seals in it, new rotor seals, coolant seals. It really does not have that much runtime, and you'll see the compression numbers in the end of this video. I think those numbers are going to go up as this thing drives. It has no problem hot starting, cold starting, or anything, but the numbers are very average. So it is still 1980s engine parts. You know, you can't get new rotary engine parts for these. So, stock port. It's a 6-port with the sleeves pulled out. If you've ever seen one of those with those sleeves pulled out, they have these little auxiliary sleeves in them right here that turn on and off for like mid-range and stuff. This Weber doesn't have that. It's all top end, and you'll see the video, or the end of this video, when it's ripping, this thing rips. It maintains the stock GSLSE style ignition. The OEM GSLSE oil cooler has been relocated up out of the way. We have a radiator from a early, I think 81 to 83 or 80. It's the car that's not the front mount oil cooler car, has a taller radiator. So this has the bigger radiator in it. It does a really good job. This has a newer FC alternator on it, double pulley, but I only have one belt on it right now, which I can grab another one. And the clutch fan. Clutch fans are the way, guys. They're reliable and they work and they keep these things cool. So, likens to keep the clutch fan. As far as moving from the engine back, it's a stock GSLSE transmission. It has a stock GSLSE rear end that has been braced. This has steel bracing on the top of it. The spring buckets have been replaced with flat buckets, and a universal 6-inch diameter coil spring goes in there now instead of the like proprietary sort of wound one. It has KYB shocks all the way around, I believe. The rears were brand new. The fronts were what was in the car when I got it, but they are just fine. The front suspension is reinforced GSLSE spindles, so it's like plated and braced, and then it has adjustable coil sleeves that are welded on there so you can adjust ride height in the front, and then it uses a universal 4-inch spring so you can change the spring rates if you want. It does maintain stock GSLSE brakes all the way around. 4x114 lug pattern. These wheels came on one of my parts cars. I really have no idea what brand they are, but they're strong, they're aluminum, and they look awesome. They're 14x6. It has Sumitomo Ice Edge snow tires on it because it completes the look. And if you guys are going to race a rally, no sense in me buying gravel tires or something that I would like when you might want to run a different tire. So this is a great tire to drive this car around on the street on. You're not going to tear them up too bad, but it looks spec. It looks rally spec. It does have a full-size spare in the back with a matching tire, and I have a full set, a couple full sets of these stock GSLSE wheels, which will fit on here, 14-inch. And if the buyer's interested in wanting a set of those, I have no problem throwing a set of wheels in the back of the car for you. I got stacks of them back there. So, that's the drivetrain. Oh, stock replacement clutch, stock flywheel, so it's not super spooly. It still maintains a nice little mid-range for you. As far as body stuff, it does have a full skid plate underneath it. The fenders and doors are off of one of my parts cars here, so they were straight, not, you know, bent and crashed up and repaired. The hood came off of a parts car, so it's a straight hood. The cowl was my best cowl. Headlight covers, best headlight covers. And some of this stuff, you know, it is still at its heart a race car, so the fitment isn't perfect on some of this stuff, but it does maintain the factory pop-up headlights do still work. This is a huge thing that I wanted to make sure that we still had, and it's clutch. The headlight motors and stuff all have brand new bushings, brand new plastic little inserts in them, so they shouldn't give you any fits. The bumpers, if you know, these 84 cars had a black belt line down the side. Well, in the spirit of racing, we removed that, lightweight. So I painted the black trims on the front and rear bumpers white. I think it looks a little cleaner, and the original Millen car was just painted white over everything as well. Still has marker light covers, but there are no actual marker lights in those. It's just the cover to cover up the hole, really nice ones. And all of the lenses, tail lights have all been polished up, cleaned up, looking super nice. Okay. As far as other body damage that was repaired, that was a little bit severe, okay? Or repaired or not repaired. Around the gas tank door, this thing got hit pretty good right here, as in if they hit something. So it was a little dinged up right here. We fixed this. The quarter is really good. Calvin, my body guy, is awesome. We did not repair anything below really the rocker level. So you're gonna see right here, this is double layer steel. So if we'd have tried to pull this out, I wasn't confident that we were gonna get the inside layer to come with it, so we just left this for the sake of it not rusting inside of there, okay? There's not a speck of rust on this car at all, and there wasn't when I got it. Super clean. It's been stripped down to metal, painted. GM Summit White is the paint code. It's just like utility truck white, and I forget what brand paint they use at the dealership. I can have Calvin comment it down below, but he works, my buddy works at a body shop. All the work was done to the car in this garage, except for the body work and stuff. We took it up to his body shop to paint it. So, and all of that stuff is documented on the channel. You can see every bit from fixing this quarter to fixing the little cowl, because a funny rally story, this thing hit a tree and the tree fought back. When this car was reversing out of the tree, a limb fell down and sucker punched the cowl right here, so we had to repair that. There's a little bit of evidence of the repair here as well. You can see a little bit of the wave in that seam. So, like I said, it's still, you know, it's a race car. It has history, but it is one of those cars that it looks really good. It steals all the attention at car shows. I was at Cars and Coffee this weekend. Huge crowd around this thing the whole time. I love talking to people about rally stuff because no one else really does it. And it's just the delivery is off the charts. It's all of the stickers are exactly that. It's stickers. So this car is effectively a body in white Mazda RX-7. If you pull all the stickers off, it's white. And you can put whatever other livery on it you want. So let's see. We got that, and that. Let's jump to the interior. The interior. I left the red dash that was in the car. It has been refinished. But I left the red dash as it was. Now you're going to see there's a repair on the passenger side. The car had what's called a Terra Trip in it when I got it, which is like an old school rally computer. It is this guy, literally this one. You can see how it was mounted. It had some brackets on it. It was mounted to the dash kind of hastily. And I didn't like the way it looked, but I also didn't have another good red dash I was willing to give to this car. So I repaired it. I took some of the dash from over here that hadn't been cut out for the cage, cleaned it up, used a patch, glued it in there. It's filled with foam underneath. It's just better than having a gaping hole in your dash. The rest of the dash is mint. It has LRB dash vents, LRB door panels, and brand new door rubber and window rubber all the way around besides the hatch. The hatch ones, it's hard to find to get a new one, so I just use the best one that I have here. These are new door rubbers here, new door inners on the outside there, and then my best set of felts from one of my nicer parts cars for the windows. So the doors do not have any rust whatsoever in them. They were super mint when we started the project. So basically, it's a stock dash. Cigarette lighter still works. Does have a quick release wheel. You can see it's one of the kind of like hex style. I have an old dirt track wheel in here. Just kind of suits the car. Don't need anything crazy for a rally car. Feel free to change it. Brand new Sparco Sprint FIA seats. These are mounted on sliders, which I would suggest changing if you're going to race the car. These sliders are a little bit wiggly, and I'm not too into that. But for the sake of it being more of a street car, I didn't put fixed brackets in it. So it does have seat belts. These are ones that I've had here. They are expired. So you will need, if you're going to race this car, you will need new belts. These are in really good shape though. They're really clean. So they work for driving around on the street. They just won't pass tech. Optima battery, hard mounted right here. All the wiring runs to the main kill there. There's nothing under this ECU plate. This is where the GSLSE ECU would have lived. I kept it in there. Nice place to rest your feet, hold yourself in the seat as a co-driver. In here, the glove box, you can see the dash bar. These are all of the fuses and power for the fuel pump relay, okay, and your front lights and also the service lights. This car has service lights inside the cabin. So you can see there. There's one in the very back by the center of the trunk, and there's also one in the engine bay. Those service lights, 2 of them are on leads, which means you can unwrap them right here. You can unwrap that light and take it to each corner by the wheels. So if you need to change a tire in the dark, you don't have to remember to bring a flashlight. Ask me how I know. So all of that's controlled from here. Now I mentioned the fuel pump relay. This car maintains the factory wiring to the fuel pump from where the ECU was mounted, okay? So I have changed how the fuel pump is controlled. From the factory being fuel injected, this car controlled the fuel pump from the ECU. Okay, so it would prime, and then when you started cranking, it would come on. And once the car is running, it would turn on. And when the engine dies, the pump would shut off. That safety feature is huge in rally. So the car has an oil pressure safety switch to keep the pump running while the car is on. If that switch loses oil pressure, the fuel pump turns off. That way, if you roll it, crash it, it's a carbureted car, the floats will stay open if it's upside down, and it'll pump all your gas in the engine bay, and that's just a recipe for some fire, and we're not into that. I did, however, wire in an override. So this button right here is a momentary button, the left one. And this allows you to prime the fuel system. And what that does, it's a carbureted car. When it's been sitting for a bit and all the fuel is evaporated out of the bowls, you can use that, reprime the bowls, car fires right up. This car, you'll see, the Weber is dialed based on Racing Beat specs. I've ripped it, it runs great. And I couldn't be happier with how that Weber turned out, but it's much more reliable than that EFI that was on it. Hot start, cold start, fires right up. So that's the rest of it. The rear interior has all just been stripped out. It does have a 6-point cage, the logbook, inspected cage, good to go. Super clean back here, guys. So I guess I'll open the hatch here in a second. As far as, I know we talked about the little bit of body damage on that side, so let's go over this side of the car. Good front fenders. This car has been board slide. Somebody tried to board slide a ditch, smashed the rocker up. With how this is made, we'd have had to cut the whole rocker out to replace it, and I didn't want to do that. For the sake of the rest of the car, it's just, this is below the belt line. It's not super crazy, and I know you'll be like, why didn't you fix it? Well, it tells a story, okay? And we repaired it, cleaned it up, painted it, and I just left my vinyl right above it. So that's the damage right there. There's also a dent right here as well. This gets into that double layer area. As far as the rest of the bottom of the car, you've seen in the pictures, this thing's super clean underneath it, and it's one of the nicest cars to work on. Don't need safety glasses, at least after, right now it hasn't been rallied, so there's no mud down there, but you don't need safety glasses. It's clean, there's no rust falling off, and it's white, so you don't need a flashlight. It's wondrous. The car does have Sparco mud flaps without the stickers because I think they're tacky. It's got a LRB antenna delete button right here, so the hole is still here, but this little button just snaps in place. It has a 5-inch, 2.5-inch pass-through glass pack on it, and it sounds crispy. The header is just a Racing Beat header that I think has been modified in the past. It has a Racing Beat flange, or maybe it's custom made with the Racing Beat flange, but it collects right by the passenger's feet, 2.5 inch all the way out, which you've seen from the pictures as well. As far as we talked about like the suspension hard parts, so let's talk about the soft parts. It does have energy suspension bushings, front and rear, brand new. They're black set of the polyurethane bushings in everything, and it doesn't have sway bars on the front or back. With these extended control arms, they're extended and reinforced 1 inch over stock for extra camber. It just really doesn't work out to run the sway bar, and off-road you don't really need it. Now, the provisions are there. You can still add the sway bar back. It's not like anything was cut off. It's just that off-road handles better without them front and rear. I believe, I'm sure I'll forget something in this video. It does have non-powered mirrors or depowered mirrors, so you have to manually adjust these. Oh yeah. Super crazy awesome thing. The car maintains a factory defrost. So it's wired to only defrost. You turn the fan on, it's heat, rips out the vents. I've taped everything so that way it only goes to defrost. It's a super win. My old car did not have a heater and it sucked. So with that, the car's fully street legal. I got a title, drive it on the road. I would say it's definitely not going to pass emissions. But as far as, you know, the legality of wipers, it doesn't have a horn, I guess. But lights, taillights, everything like that. It's all there. So with that, guys, we're going to go for a drive in this thing, and we'll do a compression test and drop any questions in the comments below. Okay. So the start procedure, turn your main power on, key on. This is that fuel pump prime, so listen to this. You can hear it build pressure. The car typically likes like 2 pumps of the throttle, and then it pretty much fires right up. So the Webers do not have a choke, so they literally, sometimes they don't like to rev that well until they get nice and warmed up. At least the carburetor gets warmed up. This is locked and hot. The whole setup is locked for defrost only, and the fan works, blows air out the top. So the add coolant light, there's no coolant level sensor in this radiator, so I need to ground that for you. So that light goes away. Go to oil pressure here. Temperature will start to come up. Fuel gauge as well. So today is February 5th, which should be just a couple days before the spring and trailer auction goes live. You can take it to shows and rip it. It is loud, it doesn't have any insulation, but it sounds pretty good. Nice and crispy. These 6-port engines, with the auxiliary port sleeves removed, have a pretty good little overlap cackle to them. So it kind of gets that little burble on the D-cell with it. And I like to as well, I think it's running probably close to like 16, 17 degrees of timing, static. So it has a 10-degree advance on top of that as well. That just helps wake these things up. It can be a little hard to start when you do run that much timing, but like I said, this morning it was 18 degrees. It started a little harder than it would if it was 50, but it still pretty much fired right up. So, and you really can't rev those Webers. They'll bog right away until that carb gets a little heat in it. So I'll let this warm up a little bit. We'll hop in it, go for a cruise. well. It is a little, you know, it's a race car. It's got poly bushings. It's a little stiff. Has a little bit of vibrations. It does its things. Exhaust is mounted super tight. It's loud, etc., etc. But for it being just a small port on that 6-port engine with no sleeves, the drivability is not too bad with this Weber 48. You do have like a little bit of that not staged, so there's no primary and secondary, you know, throttle blades. It's just one set with the Webers, so your slow speed drivability isn't ideal. This big radiator is doing a real good job of keeping this thing cool. So do a little bit of a 1, 2, 3 here. Not too bad for a little car. This thing definitely gets a lot of looks with all the crazy stripes and stuff on it. It's a really fun car to own. Figure I've already washed it for the pictures, right? We can shred the driveway a little bit. I'll just clean it before it goes on the truck. Put those mud flaps to work, you know. It's a rally car. So that's the drive. Like I said, the thing runs great. It is an older RX7, so the steering's not the tightest in the world, but it's definitely tighter than a lot of the other RX7s I have here. It if you didn't see in the background, we kind of do RX7s around here. So I'm gonna pull it back in the shop. We'll shut this thing off and we'll do a hot compression test for you. That way you guys know exactly what you're getting. Good and warm, but not really super warm. It is, like I said, 30 degrees out here. So, coolant temperature, you see it come up. See the gauge moving just to the bottom pin. So, not exactly hot, but we did go for like 15-minute drive. So let me grab the compression tester. So the compression tester that I have is a rotary compression tester brand compression tester. Very reliable unit. This one's actually pretty much brand new. So we'll get the sensor installed on the trailing plug, both front and rear. We'll run both the tests and I'll show you guys those numbers. Okay. There we go. So there's your compression numbers. 82, 78, 76. Corrected for 250 RPM. The compression tester was acting funny, but after I moved the compression tester's signal wire off of the ignition wires, worked fine. So I think it was just wigging it out. So you saw there, 80 across the board. I'll go ahead and run it again on the front rotor for you. Oh, let's see, here's the key. Okay, the RPM read 0 that time, which is kind of interesting. It's going to throw this way off because of the correction. Run it again. There we go. 71, 78, 80. So, consistent, 80 PSI basically across the board. For an engine that has solid corner seals, that's really good. Those corner seals literally drop 10 PSI versus stock ones. I had built an engine after this one with those, didn't like the way it worked, and switched them out. So we'll switch this to the rear rotor here. Okay, rear rotor compression. $238, 76, 76, 63. 78, 64, 76. $64, 77, 78. So, very average numbers. Like I said, it's a fresh engine. It's got new apex seals, those solid corner seals. It's good to go. I would run it hard. It's what they're here for. So, there's the compression numbers, front and rear rotor. I'm gonna put the spark plugs back in and I'll show you all a hot start here. All right, so Weber hot start, just finished the compression test. Basically, this car, don't even have to touch the gas. Fires right up. I'll do it again for you. So, no gas. Ready to rock. Good oil pressure. Coolant temp's coming up because we've been sitting. Fuel gauge works. Now, in conclusion, guys, race car's done. Smelly in here now. But it's ready to rip. Everything's working. Everything's good to go. Like I said, the car's been completely overhauled. Anything as far as like troubleshooting stuff, I know when I sold my last RX7, the delivery driver literally stalled it 4 times trying to get it on the truck and like super flooded it, and it was a pain to get back fired up. And when the car got delivered out in California, the battery was dead, and you know, it is what it is. So I hope that, you know, however this car gets shipped, nothing goes crazy with it. But You never know. These are 40-year-old machines, and as new as everything is that I've put on here, it's still not a modern EFI normal car. They have their little quirks. So compression numbers, 70 to 80, average. It's good. This is a old school, or I guess old school. It's a S4 NA rebuilt engine, brand new Weber. Hot starts just fine, cold starts just fine. As far as the rotary typical problems, right? The rest of the car, it's all fresh, ready to go. And I'm excited to see how this auction progresses. And any questions, any stuff like that you guys have about the car, drop them in the comments here. I'll be very active in the comments on Bring a Trailer to address those questions. And I'm excited to pass this thing on to somebody else. It has been a super fun build, and I love first-gen RX7s. And I would love to keep it, but it is one of those things. I kind of built it knowing I wanted to sell it, and it was a good practice car for me to practice my restoration stuff and make sure we can learn where everything goes. So with that, thank you guys very much for watching. Happy bidding, and I'm excited to see how this auction goes. So thank you guys very much. We'll see you in the next one. Keep it rad. Mega.